Before somebody starts commenting about it, yes, I do have a new mic. I'm still trying to figure out the best settings for it and which settings work best for my voice. So you might hear me tweak everything a bit over the next few videos, just to find the right settings to get the best audio out of this mic. But eventually, it's gonna be fine and hopefully my voice will sound a lot better. With that being said though, today we have something very, very interesting to talk about. So last week on Thursday, I was doing a live stream here on the channel, like I essentially do every single week. We were just yapping a bit about Minecraft, about life, about other things, until eventually Tubbo, who is of course a very popular content creator, decided to hop into my live chat with some important information to share. And him hopping into my live chat was a direct response to a video I uploaded earlier that day. It was titled "Why Free Minecraft Server Hosts Suck." And despite what the title may let you believe, it actually wasn't a hate video against free hosts at all. Instead, it was an oversimplified explanation on how Minecraft server hosting companies actually work and how they make sure they're sustainable, and why an absolutely perfect free server host that can host an entire Velocity network or a very big community server most likely doesn't exist. Now, one of the arguments I used in that video is that a free hosting company has to cut a lot of costs to stay sustainable, as the main source of income for a lot of these free hosting companies is ad revenue, and ad revenue simply doesn't earn that much. So when Tubbo, who owns a free server hosting company, popped into my live chat and said, "Do you want to see all the behind the scenes of Play.Hosting, including all of the website's traffic, the costs, the revenue, and all the other things going on behind the scenes?" I of course said, hell yeah. That sounds so super interesting. So we hopped into a Discord call, and that is when Tubbo started talking about all the behind the scenes details of Play.Hosting. And I can tell you, it was really, really interesting. So first he started talking a bit about the website's traffic and the nodes.
What you're looking at right now is, I'll give you a little bit of a rundown. This is available disks of the current servers, so how much storage is left on them. This is RAM usage. Ignore the fact that it looks like that. I'm trying to fix it.
Okay,
then this is concurrent players connected at any given time. Right now there's around 230 people online. This graph here, I can give you the rundown on this. This graph here, this is inbound traffic, so this is people uploading files to the panel. And then this inbound traffic is people playing Minecraft. This outbound is files being sent and pulled from the database. And this inbound is, again, people playing Minecraft. So over here, you can see the CPU usage of all the nodes. We've got
how many nodes do you have?
Okay, so this is where it gets because we allow custom files to be uploaded. Everything has to be containerized and very, very protected to basically protect user data. So you can see we have node 2 and then we have node 2.2 here. This is basically 2 VMs running on the same host machine.
Yeah.
So you can see here we have our 3 high power nodes. These are the Ryzen 9 7950Xs running on these. You can see they don't use basically any CPU whatsoever. They go into node 1. This is your AMD EPYC 7551 dual configuration. Same with 2, and then you've got the 7551P on node 3 and 4. And then you have the ingress, which is DDoS stuff. I'll get into it.
He also showed us the servers themselves, by the way. So because Play.Hosting is being hosted from Tubbo's office, not from a data center or anything, he literally just grabbed his phone and showed us.
Wait, is it gonna let me flip around? Hey man, what's up?
There you are, what's up, man?
So this is my server room. Oh yes. This is it here.
Damn, it looks awesome.
It just sits in. This is where I built it. And it just sits on the side here. You can see utilization from networking on here. So if I go to network, you can see real-time. I'll flip this around so it's easier for you.
Thank you.
You can see real-time traffic coming in and out of the network on there. And then you can see throughput for aggregation, which is level 2 switching. And then these servers here, these are your high quality. These are your Ryzen 9s. That's why they're so loud. Each one is Ryzen 9, 64 gigs of RAM. Not as much. I'm looking to upgrade these to a 192 gig of RAM configuration, but I need a different motherboard. Down here, you have 2.5 gigabit switching for the inbuilt 2.5 gigabit on there. And then this is where the bulk of the hosting happens. So these ones are really, really quiet and very low power compared to those ones up there. This server here is node 1. It's got about half a terabyte and hosts, I think, 20,000 servers, maybe 30,000. On this one.
On the one system, damn.
Yeah, on one system. So this is around 40,000 servers. Above here, this one is Node 2 with around 20,000. This one's got a quarter of a terabyte. Then this one's got an eighth of a terabyte and another eighth of a terabyte. These two combined are probably another 20,000 each. Then down here, this is the database. So you can see all the lights on here. Each one of these drive bays here, except for this one here, this is the boot drive. These ones will have 18 terabyte hard drives in them, running in RAID 5, sorry, which is a one drive failure policy before any data is lost. So one of these drives can fail without any data being lost, and they're run in what's known as object storage, which is S3 done by MinIO. So this server up here will be like, oh wait, a user is trying to create a server, is trying to create one. Let me send a message down to the database. The database is like, yes, this is this user's data. And then it's sent up through this switch here. This is the database aggregation link. And then that will then go downstream to this switch where those 2.5 gigabit connections will take it up to the server it needs. That's how the service functions based on that. That's the rack. I'm actually getting, you can see here, I've got
So that's the entirety of Play.Hosting, basically. Yeah,
that's the entirety. If you really want to be specific, you can see a server there that I binned off because it was too loud.
Really?
You see down there, you can see our fiber terminations. You can see redundant power. You see a lot of legacy networking. That's for the rest of the building. I've got some new servers here, going to be deployed soon. Got some new networking. Look at this bad boy. Oh, beautiful.
Awesome. Beautiful. That looks so cool.
Yeah, so I've also got another new server over there.
Oh, the creeper there in the back is cool. I know it has nothing to do with this.
Mojang sent that to me after FitCon last year.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, so that was pretty cool already. But after that, he started talking about revenue. More specifically, one of the main revenue streams of Play.Hosting, which of course is ad revenue.
It's gonna surprise you. I genuinely think it's gonna surprise you. So I've done YouTube, and you do YouTube as well. I've done YouTube for around 6 years. AdSense on YouTube is very up and all over the place.
I know, yeah. December is great and the rest is kind of...
AdSense on websites, however, is very uniform and in fact much better than AdSense on YouTube.
Really?
So when basically AdSense for YouTube and traditional AdSense, they function as two different things with different rates and different selling. Whereas AdSense for website, you can actually deliver almost 8 times as many impressions with a single page view, and you get paid a higher RPM. So this here is the AdSense panel for Play.Hosting. So on our first month of operation, this is around 20 days of revenue, is around £270 from adverts.
Yes.
You can see the type of adverts and where that revenue comes from. And then you can see today, £8, yesterday 16, the last 7 days 120. This is all from your traditional AdSense. Where it gets interesting though is, honestly, there's a little bit of geopolitics to it. So you can see here in the last 7 days as the US rolled out its tariff scheme, AdSense for the US absolutely crashed. So you could see when the tariffs were rolled out and the US economy and stocks were in a decline, less revenue came from the United States, but now it's resolved. If I go to my reports and look at the most recent reports, you can see the page RPM is all the way back up to 42 pence. So the page was only viewed 59,000 times on Wednesday. However, it derived 81,000 impressions. So whereas on a YouTube video, 1 view is 1 impression, on a website, 1 view can be upwards of 5 impressions. So you don't need to direct as much traffic to make as much from ads.
That's interesting. I had no clue. Yeah, so that is really, really interesting. The ad revenue that Play.Hosting is earning is not that bad. It is pretty good actually. And Play.Hosting is not even showing that many ads on their website. Imagine what a free server host like, for example, a Turnos is earning, who might have 5 or 10 times more ads on their website. The ad revenue is gonna be a lot higher than too. But of course, no matter the earnings, the other most important thing is the costs. Because you can earn so much with ad revenue, but if the costs of keeping the servers up is 10 times higher, it doesn't really matter. So Tubbo gave us a cost breakdown for Play.Hosting.
So, back to the finances of it. So in the last 28 days, you can see here, on AdSense alone, it's made £415. Cost of running the servers in the last 28 days was £342.
It is not
off of
as much
ads-
as I thought it would.
No, so off of ads alone, it's already generated a profit of around £70. You can see here, this is networking bills, but this isn't really part of Play.Hosting because this is network that I already own. Like, this was already an expense I had before Play.Hosting existed. You've got Network BF here, which is the primary network, and then you've got Network V, which is the backup and redundancy network.
Ah, got it.
Yeah,
and
so
then that's the power.
Is
Okay.
the main thing that Play.Hosting contributes to costs, and that is covered entirely by AdSense, which is insane.
It is indeed. Yeah, so I have to say, that was definitely a surprise. I did not expect a free server hosting company, which once again has free in the name, to be somewhat profitable. Now after that we sidetracked a bit and we started to talk about DDoS, which of course DDoS protection is really important. But also usually DDoS protection can be quite expensive. But of course Tubbo also had a solution for that. That's cool. Go ahead.
So, now, something in your video I saw, you spoke about DDoS protection. Protection is very important, but DDoS protection actually isn't an added cost because the vast majority of service providers have their own kind of mitigation, even connected to normal residential networks and business lines. Yeah, level 7 aren't often DDoSes though, they're often DOS attacks, and they follow what's known as a slow loris method, which is basically just making a request, letting it time out over and over again, which comes from a dedicated IP address. So a way to mitigate this kind of level 7 attack is to run a script which scans for regular connections to this from the same IP address, and then after 5 attempts blocks it. Have you ever noticed when you're trying to connect to a Minecraft server, if you try to join 5 times really fast, or like spam refresh?
Yeah, it will just refuse to let you in or connect or
it will
anything.
refuse to let you in. That is that level 7 DDoS mitigation. It works incredibly well because Minecraft being a single-threaded application that can be put behind a proxy means that with the entire network of Play.Hosting, if we put the entire network behind a same proxy, you then have every single server on the network has the benefit of that DDoS protection, but you only need one instance of it. Because the only way that DDoS protection can damage the service is by doing something what's known as saturating the line, where there's so much traffic that the physical line of fiber cable laid can't transmit that much.
That is something I've experienced twice now, which was not really fun.
If you want to get around that, you need to create something what's called a tunnel. So what you do is you would rent one machine in a data center and then route all of your network's traffic through that machine.
And that machine is then configured to take care and scan everything and...
Absolutely.
It
does malicious packet detection. It does your IP allocation. It manages...
Just everything security-wise and DDoS protection-wise. It just scans everything. It makes sure that all the connections are safe and legit and whatever. And then it sends it to your other systems.
Yeah, so then there's no risk of the line being saturated.
Now after this, I wasn't fully satisfied with the cost picture yet. Because of course we have seen how much it actually costs to maintain Play.Hosting on a monthly basis, at least in terms of electricity. All of the systems that Tubbo has in his office also cost money to buy and stuff. He has a whole server rack with a bunch of systems in there, which of course is usually also quite expensive to purchase. But for that, of course, again, Tubbo had a solution. Yeah, except for, of course, purchasing all the servers that you now have in your office.
Oh, yeah, except for them. But a lot of them, to be honest.
Weren't they expensive to purchase and the whole server rack in general?
They are all second-hand parts and end-of-life hardware from eBay. Something which not enough free hosts are leveraging is that once you have a platform which is able to deliver 2 million impressions a month, that is a major advertising tool. So I've spent my last few weeks talking to many technical provider and data center providers and DDoS protection providers and network providers that are basically agreeing to send free hardware in exchange for ad placement on the website. So then the hardware costs effectively drop to zero. You're not needing to effectively buy any new hardware because it's all being supplied for free in exchange for this advertising. Because something which data centers and these companies do is they cycle hardware all the time, especially with how popular AI servers have. That power isn't endless. So when they buy these new power intensive AI servers, they then have to get rid of a bunch of old servers.
And you just send an email and you're like, hey, I'm Tubbo. I stream and make videos on YouTube. I have a big audience. Do you want to send me servers and I will advertise your
effectively, that's it.
Your thing, yeah.
The hardware and scaling costs effectively become zero. the only outgoing
Damn,
cost
so smart.
is then your power and your networking, which is already being paid for.
Yeah, so that is interesting. Essentially, Tubbo is just going to companies, and with his influence, as of course a big content creator, he is like, hey, if you send me old hardware that you don't need anymore, I'll promote your service or your company. And it is so super smart. And of course, that is not something that anyone can just do. Tubbo is in a very special position by being such a popular content creator. So it's not like anyone can just do this, but then again, it does benefit everyone. Because everyone that now wants a free server can just go to Tubbo's free host.
Now, I haven't showed you the biggest moneymaker of this.
Yeah, but how do you make money with it then? That's what I'm actually wondering.
The biggest money making of this is because obviously Play.Hosting isn't just my project. It's a partner with Lilypad.
Affiliate program, of course. Every single time somebody goes to Play.Hosting and then they go and buy a server at Lilypad, you earn some affiliate revenue from that.
So Play.Hosting has referred 145 customers, and then that commission last month was 400. This month so far, 170, which is then basically doubling the AdSense revenue every 28 days. So the service operates entirely in the green. It's not like a money loss project. It operates at a gain, but what it doesn't operate is at a gain to expand, which is why the majority of free hosts operate at a loss, is because they consider it a loss because they don't operate at a rate where they need to expand. By nullifying the need to buy more hardware and expand, you then operate in the green.
And you operate in the green, obviously.
Yeah, well, to an extent.
Okay, to an extent, because I guess your plan is to expand Play.Hosting more in the future as time goes on, or do you have a limit that you're like, if the server rack is full, then that's it, that's Play.Hosting?
I mean, I'm building another server rack in a few weeks. So it is planning to expand, but the new hardware doesn't cost any money. Like right now, we've just crossed 115,000 total servers hosted. I believe puts us as one of the biggest hosts in the world in terms of server capacity.
Yeah, so that was really, really interesting. So also taking that affiliate revenue into account, Play.Hosting is altogether actually quite a profitable business, which is something I absolutely did not expect. It is way more profitable than I could have ever imagined. Now after this, we talked about some technical details for a bit. For example, that for most Minecraft servers, RAM is way more important than CPU power. Something I also never really truly realized. Like, CPU is still important, don't get me wrong, but if your server has a bad CPU, the server will just generate slower. But that's essentially it. When you have bad or slow RAM, your server will actually crash. And that is something, of course, you want to avoid at all costs.
Also, what I don't understand is what I've learned from doing this is that CPU is not the limiting factor on these nodes, it's entirely RAM. Out of memory crashes are way more common than CPUs.
For the systems itself, or like for the Minecraft servers? Because when you go and like generate new terrain in Minecraft, it is quite CPU intensive.
It is, however, world generation in modern versions of Minecraft is now entirely asynchronous. So what you can do is you can offload terrain generation to like a massive so if you have your host machine, right?
Yeah.
Let's say your host machine has 180 threads. You can then allocate maybe 20 of these threads entirely to world generation, and you still have 110 threads dedicated for the server loop. So while the world generation on Play.Hosting on our nodes, which are high capacity, isn't necessarily the best, what you will never see is the server lagging because the world's generating. So the chunks will load slow, of course, but the TPS of the server will not drop below 20 even when the chunks are being loaded, because in modern Minecraft, all of that world generation is happening asynchronously on a different thread to the primary thread.
And of course, a better CPU is nice, and it does help a lot with the generation of, for example, the world, which is a very CPU-intensive task. But according to Tubbo, RAM, that is where the true magic lies. I definitely learned a lot from this conversation with Tubbo, and I think a lot of others did as well. It is always nice to get more insight on how something actually works, and especially with free server hosting companies, it is just hard to predict how much something will cost, how much revenue it will earn, just all the details. And the fact that Tubbo wanted to share this live on stream is absolutely awesome. So big props to him. And with that being said, that's gonna be it for today. Do make sure to subscribe to my channel, join my Discord. Thank you so much, channel members. And then I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye, see you later. Bye bye.